Today we are cooking
a spicy dish with roasted pork. Garlic, dry adjika, 2 teaspoons. Our marinade is all over the surface of the piece. And I'll let it rest for 2 to 3 hours. We lay the meat on parchment. We send it to the oven at 180 degrees for an hour and a half, top to bottom. The meat is perfectly baked and quite juicy. Friends, hello everyone. New Year is just around the corner, which means it's time to think about the festive table. Today we are preparing a spicy dish with roasted pork. This dish, like a good series, combines simplicity and bright notes.
friends.
As usual, I recommend watching closely, particularly for different processes. I will leave all the measurements in the description under the video, so don't miss these details as they can help you achieve the best result. And before we start this video, I ask you to give it a like, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new interesting videos. Well, let's get started. First, we need to prepare the sauce that we will use to marinate the pork. I've taken 2 kilograms of it, by the way. Therefore, we will use different spices based on the weight of the meat. First, we'll take garlic. With the help of such device, I will simply press down and I will get a crushed garlic. The garlic goes into the bowl where we will mix everything. I take such a deep one and send all the crushed product. The next ingredient is olive oil, approximately 1 to 2 tablespoons. I have a regular Russian mustard, 1 tablespoon. Sea salt, dry adjika, 2 teaspoons. Stir with a spatula. We get such a creamy mass. I put on gloves and take a piece of meat. What do I want to do? I want to make small cuts on the back side where we have fat about 1/2 centimeter so that the marinade penetrates the thickness of the product. With a brush, I evenly apply our marinade over the entire surface of the piece. We do the same thing on the other side. We apply the marinade and evenly distribute it with a brush. In 2 words, I'll tell you why we added olive oil. Besides the fact that our marinade will be more elliptical and more evenly distributed throughout the product, the spices, dry adjika, and black ground pepper only reveal themselves under the influence of oil. We add olive, but you can also use vegetable, after which I cover the meat with food wrap and send it to rest for 2 to 3 hours. If you plan ahead, it's best to leave it overnight.
We send it to the refrigerator.
The meat has marinated for 3 hours. We set it aside. We take the parchment. And now I will be laying the meat and wrapping it in parchment. I'll explain why. We have fragments of garlic there. If we leave the meat under the open heat now, the garlic will simply burn and the taste will be unpleasant. Let it simmer in the parchment and then I'll show what needs to be done. We lay the meat on the parchment with the fatty side down. We wrap it up. And to make sure our roll doesn't unravel, I'll cut off a couple of pieces of twine and secure it. I'm going to bake the meat in this form. This heat-resistant form will help distribute the heat evenly and your pork will stay juicy. What can I compare this to? It's like a double coat that forms from foil and such parchment. Only instead of foil, there will be a form. Send it to the oven at 180 degrees for an hour and a half, top down. After the allotted time, we take the form out of the oven and open the lid. We remove the ropes. Now my task will be to unfold the meat to continue cooking it, but without the parchment. And in this way, the meat acquires an additional color. I take melted butter and cover a piece of meat. We send it to the maximum temperature that your oven can produce for 15 minutes. Here, a rumbling crust is formed. All we have left to do is cut and taste. We cut it and with precise spoons so that it reaches every guest. The meat is perfectly marinated, quite juicy. I'd rather cut myself a piece. I got a piece of both fat and meat, and even though we didn't sprinkle the meat, not We didn't subject it to any additional treatments, and it's very juicy, very tasty. I think that if it really had been left overnight, there would be no price. You could have used it in place of sausage. And by the way, it's much cheaper than factory-made sausage, tastier, and most importantly, we know what we put in there. Let's take another bite to make sure the result is worth serving this dish to our guests. The meat is tender, it melts in your mouth, and the aroma of this roasted roll fills the entire apartment. On this delicious note, I bid you farewell. I thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and don't be afraid to experiment. Goodbye, friends.